Today we're going to be learning about the 3 weeks and rebuilding the beauty that we lost. We'll be understanding the spiritual meaning of exile, destruction, and the hidden love. Every year, these 3 weeks arrive, and almost instinctively, we shift into mourning. We remember the destruction of the Beit Hamikdash, refrain from celebrations, and stop listening to music. And we prepare ourselves for this day of Tisha B'Av. But over the years, I have found myself asking different questions. If Judaism is a religion that is constantly moving us forward, then why does it ask us to spend 21 days looking backwards? Why return year after year to something that happened nearly 2,000 years ago? Is the Torah simply asking us to remember history? Or is it actually inviting us to understand something much deeper about ourselves, about our relationship with Hashem, and about the world that we're trying to build? I believe that if we only see these 3 weeks as a period of sadness, we have actually missed one of the deepest messages in the Jewish calendar. Because the 3 weeks are not simply about what we lost, but they are actually about what still remains. And perhaps even more importantly, they are about what we're capable of rebuilding. If someone were to ask you what happened on Tisha B'Av, almost everyone will say the same thing: the Beit Hamikdash was destroyed. That answer is actually true, but that is not the whole story. The Beit Hamikdash was more than that. It was the place where heaven and earth met. It was where the divine presence rested openly among the Jewish people. And it was also the physical expression of an intimate connection, a deep relationship between Hashem and his people. So when the Beit Hamikdash was destroyed, the greatest tragedy was not that we lost the building. It was that we lost the open revelation of that relationship. What disappeared was our ability to experience his presence in the same revealed way, meaning that Hashem is with us, but his presence is actually concealed. We know that in Judaism, one doesn't just remember history, but we relive it. One of the unique things about Judaism is that we don't commemorate history simply because it happened. Every Jewish holiday is experienced in the present. So when Pesach comes around, we're not just remembering leaving Egypt, we're actually leaving Egypt. On Shavuot, we don't simply remember receiving the Torah. Every year we stand once again at Har Sinai and receive the Torah anew. And on Sukkot, we don't merely think about the clouds of glory, we actually step into them. Meaning that Jewish time is not linear, but it's cyclical. It's a spiral that takes us one step higher. So every year, the same spiritual energy that existed then becomes available once again, now. The same is true during these 3 weeks. These are not simply memorial days, they are living days. The spiritual reality that existed during the destruction returns once again. Not because Hashem wants us to stay stuck in sadness, but because he's giving us another opportunity to repair what was broken. Judaism doesn't ask us to relive tragedy. It asks us to continue to work on healing. It's an opportunity to reconnect. And this brings us to the idea of Ben Hametzarim. What does a Ben Hametzarim really mean? So the Torah and our sages offer refers to these days like Ben Hametzarim, between the straits. At first glance, it sounds like another way of saying between difficult days. But the Hebrew word meitzar carries a much deeper meaning. A meitzar is a narrow place, a place where movement becomes restricted, where growth feels impossible, and where we feel trapped. Suddenly, the 3 weeks become a much bigger than a period in the Jewish calendar. Every one of us knows what it means to live in a narrow place. Sometimes it's fear or disappointment, or we're plagued with anxiety or resentment that we haven't been able to let go. And other times we feel disconnected from Hashem or just simply stuck. Externally, everything might look fine, but internally we feel constricted. And that is what exile means. Many people think that exile means living outside the land of Israel. But Hasidut teaches us that exile is more than geography. Exile begins whenever the soul forgets who it really is, whenever we lose clarity of our purpose, our divine connection with Hashem, and whenever our fears actually become louder than our faith. That is a personal Bein HaMetzarim. So 3 weeks invite us to identify those narrow places within ourselves, not so that we remain trapped inside of them, but so that we can begin walking out of them. Because every redemption begins by recognizing that the exile that we're living. But Hasidut takes this one step further. If Hashem never abandoned us, then what actually happened when the Beit Hamikdash was destroyed? The destruction was not the end of the relationship, but it was actually the concealment of it. The Rebbe explains that what appears to be the destruction is Hashem hiding. Just as the sun can be so bright that it blinds us, the divine light of the future redemption became hidden rather than disappearing. Meaning that sometimes what feels like the darkest moment in our lives is actually hidden light waiting to be revealed. What appears to be the ending may actually be the preparation for something greater. So if Hashem is hiding that rather than being absent, then maybe we're asking the wrong question. Instead of asking where is Hashem, we should ask where Hashem is hiding. Like a parent stepping back to help a child learn to walk, Hashem sometimes conceals his presence to make us and give us the ability to grow. That's called Hester Panim. It's not a rejection, but it's an invitation to develop a deeper relationship that doesn't depend on open miracles. Concealment is not lack of love, but it's actually hidden love. And that brings us to something fascinating about this month itself. We know that the name of this month is Av, or like we call it, Menachem Av. So this comes to teach us that even during destruction, Hashem reminds us that He's still our Father. He's still there. The love is still intact. Even in the darkest times of the Jewish calendar, Hashem is reminding us that our relationship with Him has never changed. And that's why it's called Menachem Av. That comes to teach us that comfort is already hidden inside the pain and the suffering that we experience, just as Mashiach is also born on Tisha B'Av. Meaning that the beginning of the redemption is planted inside the destruction itself. So if our relationship with Hashem is still alive, where does the Beit HaMikdash exist today? We know that it says, V'shachanti v'tocham, I will dwell among them. Hashem didn't say He will dwell inside the building. He said He will dwell inside the Jewish people. Every Jew has the ability to become a miniature Beit Hamikdash. Every mitzvah, every act of kindness, and every moment of holiness creates like a spiritual brick, a place where the Shekhinah could actually dwell in this world. He's building the Beit HaMikdash one spiritual brick at a time. And the mission of the Beit HaMikdash continues through us. So if that's true, then the obvious question becomes, how do we build it? How do we rebuild this Beit HaMikdash? The second Beit HaMikdash, we know, was destroyed because relationships were broken down, sinat chinam. And that's what teaches Chazal. So if hatred destroyed the temple, then every act of Ahavat Israel, forgiveness, kindness, and unity help us rebuild it. The rebuilding doesn't begin with stones, it begins with people. Every time you do an act of Ahavat Israel, you are actually building the future Beit HaMikdash. And that is exactly what the Jewish people have done throughout history. We never stop building. The Jewish response to destruction has always been to rebuild. As you could see, after all the different pogroms, after the difficult, the most hardest times in Jewish history, including October 7, we rebuild, we move on, we continue. We stand on the darkest of moments, and that's the launching pad to building something much greater. So every time we have experienced loss, we respond by creating something greater. We build synagogues, schools, homes, communities, and institutions that carry the Shekhinah into every corner of this world. And this building has always been the Jewish response to the exile. We don't respond to darkness with despair, we respond with rebuilding. Which brings us to the ultimate rebuilding of the Beit Hamikdash. The 3 weeks are not only about remembering what was lost. Every mitzvah, every relationship we repair, every act of holiness, and every moment we reveal Hashem in the world brings us closer to the third Beit Hamikdash. So the question isn't only why was it destroyed? The real question is, what can I do today to help rebuild it? We're not simply mourning the beauty we lost. We're becoming the generation that rebuilds it. May we merit to see the day when the hidden light is fully revealed, the relationship between Hashem and his people is openly restored, and the witness of the rebuilding of the third Beit Hamikdash should come soon in our days.